Hello and welcome to today's session. I hope you're all doing amazingly well from whichever part of the world you are watching. It continues to be insanely hot here in Madrid. And just as well, it is summer, right? It is meant to be hot, but I would still complain. I have my AC on as well as a fan. It's insanely hot. But putting aside the complaints and getting back to today's subject, today I continue to speak to my spa and wellness leaders friends. So you are spa and wellness managers or directors in hotels. Last week, I talked about that feeling of being trapped, that you've already got a number of years of experience under your belt. You know day to day operations. You know you are good at wellness, and you know that you are capable of doing so much more. Yet you are deeply aware that there is this crystal ceiling, that you cannot grow more in your current role. Could be in your company that there is no other available positions out there, or for whatever reason, you just see that you cannot grow beyond where you are right now. And that either means you move ship or you set up on your own. And the idea of becoming that wellness consultant or the visiting practitioner or that wellness coach or wellness business coach is very attractive. But deep down, you have this kind of fear. You want to be certain before you make this move. Letting go of a stable job, of a very good company, and transitioning to setting up your own shop, for example, can be daunting. And I perfectly understand that. So today, what I wanted to do is offer you the first exit strategy. And this is what I call the internal wellness consultant role. And I have found that this exit strategy tends to be the easiest, at least in my opinion, and for other people I have coached to take this transition. Now, while this episode and this session is specifically for you, my spa and wellness leader friends in hotels who want to transition into consulting but don't know how to sign your first clients, I think this session is also going to be very, very relevant to my landowners. So, those of you who have a piece of land and want to build something meaningful, or you have already built it, you have that boutique property, you could have one property, or you could have a couple of properties, two or three properties. So, you have a P&L that is relatively small or limited in terms of what you can pay your talent because your boutique hotel is also quite small. But you have a brilliant wellness leader who has been with you maybe from the beginning, and you do not want to lose them. But you also know that you cannot offer them the growth opportunities that perhaps a larger hotel chain could provide. So if you find you are in that situation with your wellness leader, I want to offer this next option as a way to still tap into that fantastic talent and allow that talent to also grow. And that is them becoming the internal wellness strategist, the internal wellness consultant of the entire hotel group. So, what does this look like, and why is it the easiest way, in my opinion, and from my experience, to transition from an operations role to a more strategic role? So, what does this look like? This basically looks like that you are no longer the spa wellness director of the hotel. You transition from looking after the day to day of operations to actually becoming the person who is designing the wellness concept, who is helping with the sales and marketing plans, who's helping with the pricing strategy, who's helping with yield management strategies, the person who is there providing the strategy and helping other people, or having your successor training them to take on the day to day management of your actual wellness facility. So looking after the staff, schedules, looking after guest complaints, day-to-day operations, all of those are done by your successor. Your then spa supervisor can then be promoted to a spa manager, or a spa manager to that spa wellness director. And here is why it's the easiest route that I have found. It is the easiest exit strategy because many times you've already developed the relationship with the owning company and the GM and the entire team. So you have that rapport established. You already have that trust. Additionally, you know the property, you know the ins and outs of the property. And it's very likely that you are probably the one who has set up the foundation. So you are the one who has laid all the foundations since the beginning. So you know very well what works, what doesn't work. On top of that, you have created a very strong relationship with your owners, with the GM, with the entire hotel group per se. So it's very easy to come to that discussion point and say, okay, fair enough. I know you cannot offer me more growth, but how about I become that consultant, that strategist for you? And I train my successor to take on the day to day operations. And it's a win win situation for both involved. So for you, you get to break past day to day operations because you already know them. And you get to start learning the ropes of what it is like to have your consulting clients, what it feels like to have your time freedom, your money freedom. It feels very different when you transition from being in property and the adrenaline rush that is involved in the day-to-day operations to actually start working from your home or from any place in the world you want, and you're creating strategies. That change, although very positive, does require a period of transition because in operations you are surrounded by people 24/7. There's always someone around you, your team, your guests. It doesn't stop. Whereas when you are setting shop on your own, when you become that consultant, you end up spending a substantial number of hours on your own. And that transition takes getting used to. And it's also the financial aspect. You want to know that you're going to be with a company that you trust, that will pay you on time, and that you won't need to have that stress. And on top of that, you are in familiar territory. You are the person who's laid the foundations of this spa. You know how it works. And you also know how the owners work, you know how the guests work. So you already have such a huge head start. And I find that becoming and transitioning into that internal consultant is a win-win situation, both for the hotel group, because you don't lose amazing talent. And as a wellness director, you get to specialize in what you love doing without having to juggle 10 different jobs in one day because you've done that and you probably want to go to your next level of growth within your career. So I find that that internal consultant role for me has always been, I think, the safest bet. And I remember when I set up my business now 18 years ago, it was December of 2007, going in January of 2008. And just signing the first, hotel group that I knew in Spain, that first client of mine, and having that stability, that money that was coming each month, it was the safest bet. And it was safe back then for the hotel group because they didn't have to hire someone on their payroll and deal with all the challenges of having someone in your payroll. And what if this role doesn't work? So it was kind of betting on something with low risk for both parties. And for me, I didn't want to be an employee, but I did want to design wellness concepts, train teams, travel around the world. I enjoyed that part without having to be rostered onto a shift or having to deal with an angry guest or covering reception or trying to find cover for a sick therapist. I didn't need to do those day-to-day headaches, and I could actually then go doing stuff that I wanted to do and focus on in my next level of growth. So If you are in the situation where you have already invested a number of years in creating that relationship with your GM, with your colleagues, with the property, with the owners, and there is mutual trust, then perhaps this is the best transition you can find. It's the softest landing to go from operational operational leadership to strategic consultant work, and you're starting to get kind of the hang of what it requires to become that consultant. Now, who is this option not good for? Or it'll probably be more difficult. I wouldn't say not good for, is when you really haven't developed a relationship with the property or the GM or the owner. So you don't know how that particular property works. So you're going kind of a cold call into a hotel group and telling them that you need my expertise and I will be that internal consultant and someone else looks after the day-to-day operations. And the reason that does not work is that in some hotel chains or some hotel groups, most of them are hotel management companies. They manage the properties. But what they don't do is own the physical property. You have a different owner at each location. And it is very difficult to convince each owner at each location to pay you to be that strategist when, in fact, they've paid a hotel company to be the strategists of the entire hospitality experience. That is rooms, food and beverage, and it includes wellness. So it becomes far more difficult to convince a hotel chain, could be a small number of hotels in a particular country or region. But when you have different owners, then it becomes a lot more challenging. Because the truth is, hospitality companies, if you look at their head office and you see what the global head of wellness actually has in terms of resources and a team, it's very lean. So the global head office does not have a P&L that can sustain a full-blown consultant salary or even a full-blown global wellness director's position. So trying to convince them that they need that role when in fact they already have the day-to-day spa managers, wellness directors who are very happy to take on regional roles without the additional kind of money that is involved, because the owner of a particular property where the spa director or wellness director is based will pay for the bulk of that salary. So they kind of get all the strategic work done with minimal to no cost to them as a hotel chain. So that is when I say it's probably not a good idea to take this exit route. A, when you have not developed that relationship with the hotel group, you don't know the properties, you don't know how it works. You are going to have twice the hard, it'll be double the challenge, is what I want to say. You are getting to know what consulting work is like, how it is to get paid as a consultant. And on top of that, you are getting your head around this new area, this new hotel, this new culture, and you still not built that trust, that relationship, and that can only happen with time. Not to mention probably the pushback that you would get from the spa manager, the spa supervisor, having someone external take over that strategic role. And then the second area where this doesn't work is when you just approach a hotel chain and say, I will look after. It could be a family hotel chain, or it could be just a small hotel chain that they only are a management company, but they're not the owners of the actual properties. And that's when it becomes difficult or messy and challenging, because you can't implement all the changes when you have such different owners for each of these properties. So I hope you found this session useful in terms of the first exit strategy. It is the safest transition you can have if you're someone who has built several years of trust with your current company. You could have worked up the ranks from therapist or receptionist. You've taken on that leadership role and you know that they cannot, you know, you can't grow there anymore. The other option is to become that internal consultant, help your successor take on the day to day of the operations. And this way you get a taste of what it is to be a consultant. And you get to do it in a place that you love and that you know in and out because you're the person who probably set up all the foundations. So this week was talking about the first exit strategy. And that is, I find, the softest landing, become the internal consultant of a hotel group that you're already working with. Then next week, what I'd like to talk about is the second exit strategy. And that is what I call projects-based consulting work. So without further ado, looking forward for next week. And I wish you all a wonderful day ahead. Take care now.